And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for today. It is Wednesday, March 27th, 2013. I'm Doug Hagmann. Co-host along with me is my son, Joe Hagmann. We are together. We are the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We see the far side of the news. In fact, we deliver the important news in 3D to you. That said, you're about to hear 3 hours of uncensored, unbiased news analysis, information that you need to know. We live in some perilous times, ladies and gentlemen, and they are becoming more perilous each and every day. You can catch us live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time on the Internet. Our platform is, of course, BTR. If you're listening to this in front of your computer or on your iPad, we want to say hello to you. It's one of the fastest or one of the most common ways to listen to our program. Of course, you can listen to us on if you're in the Midwest, on a couple of AM stations that shall remain nameless because apparently we might be our broadcast might be a pirate broadcast. Just interesting. Anyway, we also are simulcasting high def video on Christians United Broadcasting Network. Of course, we want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. Thank you for your belief and your trust in us as we walk through this minefield of current events together. Again, we bring the news to you in 3D format. Joe, how you doing, man?
I am doing wonderful. Glad to be here. And just want to let our listeners know my father is scheduled to have dental procedures done today, which they did not do the heavy stuff. Yeah. So he is clearly, you can understand him clear tonight, and he is feeling good. So
people are going to be out there thinking that like I've got this one tooth in my face or something, or like I'm some sort of meth addict with no teeth. It's not that. It's just it's actually I've developed an infection. And this is something, ladies and gentlemen, I would urge everyone to do. As we come up on these times, if part of your preparations, part of your practical preparations for the times in which we're about to have and go through, go to a dentist, because sometimes you can have, especially if you've got heart problems like me, if you have an infection in the tooth or like in the bone, actually, because that's kind of what it is. That's what happens when you don't address something right away. Well, aside from being painful, it can be lethal. I mean, it could affect your health. It could affect your heart. So, part of your preparations, put that on your list of things to do. Especially if you haven't gone to a dentist for a while, put some money aside and go to a dentist that takes payment plans too. That's what I do. Believe me, there are plenty of them out there. And they're good, and they take payment plans. But focus on your health, your teeth, for example. If you haven't had your blood pressure or cholesterol or your blood work done, get that done. It's not as expensive as you think it is. Talk to your doctor, get it done. But just do that because we need people on the front lines and in the supply lines that are going to be physically able to handle things. Just do what you have to do. If you've been putting it off, do it. So I want to say that. But yeah, we've got a very busy program tonight. A lot of news, a lot of information.
Yes,
Joe,
we do.
You did a lot of research today while I just slept things off.
Yeah, we do have a lot of information to get to today, and a few things that have been going on in the political world of news is one, the Supreme Court hearings on gay marriage. We have what's going on in Cyprus. They are reopening their banks. Guards are preparing themselves for battles with the citizens. There is a €300 daily withdrawal limit. You're not allowed to take any money out of the country. And there is, already people unrest over there. There is already a deal that was reached that takes away, 40% in some cases of what's in your bank account in order to keep your bank account. The open theft from the global bankers is it's just staggering, the levels they'll go to, and so open to do it. And a few things here we've seen. One was an article. It's on Drudge. It's Faber. Not even gold will save you from what's coming. And this, I wanted to talk about this. This caught my eye because that's the headline, and it goes on to state that they project gold will move to 1580 an ounce, which is a little bit lower than what it is now.
Right.
But then they don't go on really to say for any reason why gold would not be helpful, or why it wouldn't save you.
No, wait a second. Which website are you talking about here?
This is from Business Insider, and I'll send you the link here in Skype. But
because I know we talked about several articles about gold and about the economic aspects of things.
Yeah, and Zero Hedge has a completely different take on this than what I just sent you. But Mark Faber, who authors Gloom, Boom, and Doom newsletter, is usually pretty bearish on stocks and bullish on gold. Lately, though, gold doesn't seem like it can catch a bid. Despite the continued reverberations regarding the Cyprus bailout and its involvement of bank deposits, gold struggled to maintain the positive momentum created in the first 2 weeks of March, and instead now looks very likely to move lower towards 1580 an ounce.
Okay, so stop there, because Zero Hedge is coming at this in a different way, and we'll just compare paragraphs to paragraphs. Bloomberg reported that Russia is now the world's biggest gold buyer, and its central bank is having added 570 tons, or 18.3 million troy ounces, over the last 10 years. Now, at 1650 an ounce is what they were pegged it at here. That's $30.1 billion worth of gold. So what Zero Hedge is saying here, at least in this case, compared to what you said, is there is a rush to gold, including Russia. And of course, as the article goes down, and I think it's extremely important, this article is extremely important. The central banks are buying up gold, basically, is what they're saying. And China, of course, is not factored in, but China is an extremely important part of the equation. China Central Bank holds an official 1,054 tons of gold in its reserves, and it's not showing up on the World Central Bank's spreadsheet. So we have. Go on with that article, because I think really there's a disinformation campaign going on with regard to metals. I mean, I think we're seeing,
because what are we seeing in the news? That the central banks across the world, not just in the U.S., not just China, are buying gold at a pace and a rate that they've never bought it before. They are buying gold like it will not be available tomorrow. At the same time, they're telling people, don't buy gold, buy stocks. Bloomberg, news or radio, whatever. Stock market's, very strong right now. It's a great time to get in.
Sure.
But this article just goes on to say, this article goes on to say, when you print money, the money does not flow evenly into the economic system. It stays essentially in the financial service industry among the people that have access to these funds, mostly well-to-do people. It does not go to the worker. I just mentioned that it doesn't flow evenly into the system. Now, from time to time, it will lift the NASDAQ, like between 1997 and March of 2000. Then it lifted home prices in the U.S. until 2007. It lifted commodity prices until 2008. And in July in 2008, when the global economy was already in recession. Most recently has lifted selected emerging economies, stock markets in Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, up 4 times from 2009, and now the U.S. So we are creating bubbles and bubbles and bubbles. This bubble will come to an end. My concern is that we are going to have a systematic crisis where it is going to be very difficult to hide. Even in gold, it will be difficult to hide. This is reasoning. But history shows us
So
when
wait a
paper
second,
money is overly printed
right?
and inflation, hyperinflation starts, the price of metals will rise according to inflation. Because
Now,
what you told me, and what you told me in the past, in 1913, if you were to have so many ounces of gold, which was worth X amount of dollars, it could have bought you a Corvette. Well, the same amount of gold today
yes,
can buy you that same Corvette, where
if
the
they had
money
Corvettes back then.
couldn't. Yeah, where the money could not.
Yeah, and folks, I would urge you to look on YouTube for. In fact, if I can find it, I'll send it to you somehow, or Joe can send it to you. On YouTube, there is this excellent, like 3 or 4 minute video about the price of gold, for example, or the price of silver in buying a Corvette. Um, for example, back in 1960, I think I'm not sure what examples or what years they use, but so an ounce of gold today would be, you could buy the same commodity, whether it be gasoline or food or whatever, with an ounce of gold today than you could like in 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. It's and when we talk about precious metals, we talk about this from a position of preserving your wealth. Not you're going to
Right.
take a piece of gold out there and
Not
spend it.
No, and I'm glad you brought this up because we're not talking about storing up treasures and stockpiling, tons of metals for to be able to take advantage of people and things when the economy goes bad. We're talking about necessities versus not storing up treasures. We're talking about being able to continue to be dependent on ourselves
We're talking about
in
surviving.
times of emergency. Yeah.
And being good stewards with our what does our money represent? Our money represents our life's work, does it not? I mean, you've got the money from working your life, and so is it not right?
It's a means to an end. Money
Right.
is a means to an end, and when we know that the paper money in this country that this country uses, that the world is the world's reserve currency, is being devalued to the point where it will be destroyed, it is smart. It would be smart of us to understand what we can do to protect ourselves from the destruction of the life's work in some people's cases, or their retirement, to see it not just disappear and go away for nothing, that they can do something with that money or put it in something where it will not lose value.
Yeah, and let me just break it down simply like this. Imagine you work at a forge factory for 40 years of your life. You started there when you were 25 and you retired at 65 or whenever, but figure on 40 years. And for every week, every time you get a paycheck, you allow them to take X amount of dollars out and put it into this retirement fund for you. And now you've built up, we'll say, I don't know, 400,000 in retirement. Well, you don't want somebody coming in there and taking that money that you worked for 40 years and putting in the pocket of some central banker. So what do you do with that? Well, gold and silver are hedges against the raping of your wealth, and that's how I look at it.
Right. And we can debate all day whether people take these preparations or not, but you should do everything in accordance with what the Lord wants and what He guides you to do. And beyond that, we're here to give or talk to people about, with this respect to the metals, not as people who are even invested in metals. We are just regular people like everybody else, but
yeah, or people with a 401k or anything like that. It's we're not qualified to answer those questions because being self-employed forever, we don't have 401ks or whatever, and that's So,
I always wondered what you were going to do when retirement time came. Because
I'm not retiring. I'm going to just die working.
I guess you're going to have to. Yeah, but no. So the reason that we bring this up is because we know, one, that the stock market is manipulated, the value of our dollar is being devalued, and the metal prices are also manipulated. And now we are seeing in the on the internet in different sectors of the financial websites, they have differing opinions. Some are saying, gold and silver and metals are a bad investment, like they have been saying, even though it's, risen, 400% in value, 1,000% in value.
Well, this article does say from Zero Hedge, and I think this kind of circles back to what we were talking about. This quotes Jim Rickards, a financial guy, apparently a highly respected author and manager of his own hedge fund. He said that China probably already accumulated somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 tons of additional gold reserves. So if he's right, that would be double or triple the 1,054 tons it reported back in '09, not the 40% increase in the Bloomberg's numbers suggest. So at the very least, this article says we can say that the Bloomberg report left consideration of China's imports and production out of its report, naming Russia the top gold buyer in 2012. Okay, but so what? Well, and this is, to me, this is the important paragraph. He said Jim thinks, meaning Jim Rickards, thinks that the next big catalyst for gold will be an announcement from China about its reserve position. Here's what he told me in late December. The catalyst for a spike into the, folks get this, $2,500 to $3,000 price range. Now that's per ounce. $2,500 to $3,000 per ounce for gold will be an announcement by China, probably late this year or next year in 2014, that they have acquired 4,000 tons or more in their official reserve position. This will put China on an equal footing with the U.S. in terms of a gold to GDP ratio. Or will it? That's my comment there. And validate gold as the real foundation of the international monetary system. So once, and here's the kicker. Once that position is validated, gold will move to the $7,000 range in 2015 and beyond.
Out of Bloomberg here, Japanese stock futures fall on Europe crisis and U.S. home sales. One interesting paragraph, the only paragraph I wanted to read out of this article, says this: European governments and the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, agreed Monday to lend Cyprus 10 billion euros, or $13 billion, as long as the country liquidated its second largest bank and forced losses on bank bondholders and deposits of more than 100,000 euros. So basically, the IMF lent money to Cyprus as long as they stole money from their depositors of the bank. Nice. On other news here in Cyprus, they will be opening for the first time in 2 weeks with curbs. Cyprus banks will open their doors to customers today for the first time in almost 2 weeks, with new rules curbing access to cash. The Central Bank of Cyprus capital controls will include a €300 daily limit on withdrawals and restrictions on transfers to accounts outside of the country. Banks will open at midday and close at 6 p.m. local time. Goes on to say, please be calm and be careful. Do not create more problems. It will serve no purpose for us to run to the banks and try to find ways to get money. This from
What are they? Yeah, but what are they saying?
Basically, well, the banks have been closed since March 16th.
Right.
They have, in exchange for $10 billion European bailout, have passed the losses off to the depositors of the bank. Now,
so wait a second. Where does this money go that they take? It goes into the. It's my understanding, and folks, you can, because this is important, because we're going to see this happen here. Where does this money go? That, for example, if they took, we'll say, the listener out there, they take 10 grand from every listener. Where's this money going?
This is going to
the central bankers, right?
The central bank, you're correct, because the IMF is loaning it to Cyprus, but yet on the condition that Cyprus steals the money from their depositors. It makes no sense. They're
does
stealing
if you're
the
a
money
central banker
at the one time, and then they're taking a loan. So they're receiving money from two separate places. One is a loan from the IMF. One is from stealing the money from their depositors.
Well, wait. Isn't that the same transaction? It's a pass-through type of a transaction.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it could be.
So
But
what we're
listen
going to
to
be
these restrictions. They have the measures chosen to include bans on terminating time deposits and cashing checks. Customers can transfer at most 5,000 euros per month. The restrictions aim to protect the country's financial industry while trying to uphold the principle of free movement of capital within the EU, said a central bank spokeswoman. I mean, this is what we're going to see in America if we have the chance to even see something this civil and stable. If it all doesn't go down at once, or will it even matter when will something else happen that will, pretty much make us not even worry about money to the point where, we're talking on a large scale disaster, but we don't know. Other things we're going to be talking about tonight: the final version of the Arms Trade Treaty has been released. Civilian disarmament is on track, that from the New American. And I want to play a short clip here, a 1-minute clip of Bill O'Reilly on gay rights advocates talking about how